Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're diving into some really powerful stuff. You brought us these excerpts from Khaled Hosseini's The Kite Runner. And, it's not just a story, right? It's like this journey through these super intricate relationships. And there are so many pivotal moments packed into just these passages.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, even just these early chapters, it's like you're seeing the roots of this huge tree, all these branches that are going to grow out from it. Like we're dropped right into young Amir's world. He's our narrator. And his relationship with Hassan, this loyal friend who's also a servant, and it's all set against the backdrop of Kabul. And it's fascinating how Hosseini weaves together the ordinary, like everyday life and kid stuff with these subtle hints of this big political change brewing. Those news reports keep popping up like little cracks in the surface.
Yeah, exactly. And right at the core of it all, there's this intense, like almost desperate need that Amir has for his father, Baba's approval. And it's not just about, pleasing your dad. It's something so much deeper, this yearning that seems to color everything he does. And with the kite tournament coming up, it's like that becomes his mission to win that kite. But you just feel how much more is riding on it for him. It's not just a game,
Yo,
right?
absolutely. The emotional stakes are through the roof.
Huh.
And what's
Yeah.
so interesting is how we get this view into Amir's inner world. Like you said, this contrast between what he's dealing with personally, this hunger for affection, this unspoken weight of his mother's death, and then the external world, Baba's larger-than-life stories, the radio with all the news about Daoud Khan and these possible foreign investments, like personal and political all mixed together.
It really is. And
Yeah.
sometimes it's these seemingly small details, these tiny moments that reveal so much about their relationship and the whole atmosphere. Like the
Sure.
way they spend time under the kursi during that heavy snowfall. I mean, just for anyone who doesn't know, the kursi is this traditional low table, right, with the heater underneath, and it's all covered with blankets, this warm, cozy space. And they're there playing cards, and it might seem simple, but those moments really show their closeness and maybe even, hint at the power dynamic that's always kind of there.
Definitely. It's like this little haven they create together, this bubble of warmth in the middle of everything else going on. And speaking of dynamics, when we look at Amir's motivation, his desire for Baba's approval, it's not this general thing. He has these very specific dreams tied to it.
Oh, absolutely. Bob is this figure who embodies strength and success, right? He excels in the eyes of the community so naturally that puts pressure on Amir to kind of, well, measure up. And Amir internalizes all of it, hook, line, and sinker. Winning the tournament and bringing home that last kite, it becomes this symbol for him, this way to prove his worth to Baba.
Exactly. It's not just about winning a competition. It's about winning his father's love and respect, right?
Sure.
And you see it so clearly in those little dreamlike scenes he has, those glimpses of a different kind of relationship with Baba. Easy conversations, laughter, those trips to Poggaman and Garga Lake he longs for, Baba actually taking an interest in his stories, calling him Amir John with real warmth. And then, of course, this deep, deep hope of being pardoned for his mother's death. It's like he's carrying this huge weight of guilt.
It's so heavy, you can just feel it. And then Baba, right, telling his own stories, like the one about cutting down 14 kites in a single day. Now, he might just be sharing a memory, trying to bond with Amir, but it actually ends up raising the stakes even higher, doesn't it? It shines a light on Baba's past achievements, and it might, even without meaning to, make Amir feel like he needs to do something just as amazing to be seen in the same way.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. Baba's intent might not be to pressure Amir, but the impact is undeniable. It feeds into that singular focus Amir has on winning. So, for you listening, think about this. Even unspoken parental expectations, right, that could have such a huge effect on a child's self-worth. It's something we all carry with us.
So true. Okay, so we've got this build up to the tournament, right? Amir's desire to win, the atmosphere in Kabul, and these hints of what's to come. Then there's this implied event that happens after Amir wins the last kite. We don't see it directly, but it's clear something major goes down, something that changes everything. And then we see Amir returning to Baba.
And Baba's reaction is everything Amir has ever wanted. The pure joy in his face, the way he opens his arms, embraces him, and Amir just weeps in his arms, forgetting for that moment whatever happened in the alley. It's the validation he's craved, this sense of finally earning his father's love, even though there's this, dark undercurrent to it.
But that happiness is so fleeting. The week after, the whole atmosphere at home shifts, especially with Hassan. It's subtle, but you see it in the details. The breakfast he makes silently, the ironed clothes left without a word, no more talking and laughing in the mornings, no Hazara songs. It's like something's broken between them.
Right. Hassan's silence is deafening. Those little routines they had, they're just empty now. He's physically there, doing his duties, but emotionally he's gone. It's a huge change from the bright, devoted Hassan we've seen before.
And Ali, Hassan's father, picks up on it too. He's worried. He tells Amir about Hassan wanting to sleep all the time, withdrawing after chores, and how he came home a little bloodied with a torn shirt after the tournament. Ali's intuition is telling him something seriously wrong, but Hassan just brushes it off as a fight over the kite.
Ali's observations are crucial because they show the immediate impact of that unseen event. He sees the physical and emotional trauma, and he tries to get Amir to open up, but
But Amir just shuts him down. He's dismissive, lies about not knowing what happened. You see the guilt starting to eat at him, but he's determined to bury it, protect himself.
yeah, it's classic denial. He's trying to distance himself from the pain and responsibility, and it just builds from there, right? And this guilt becomes so overwhelming that he asks to go to Jalalabad with Baba, like he's running away.
And even in Jalalabad, even when he finally has Baba all to himself at Dad Koda's kebab house listening to Baba's stories, there's this emptiness inside him. The connection he wanted so badly, it feels tainted now because it's built on a lie.
That contrast, right? The outward appearance of happiness and the turmoil underneath, it's really painful to see. And then there's that dinner at sundown. It should be this joyful celebration of Amir's victory, but it just makes his guilt worse. Baba's so proud, bragging about him winning, and Amir just feels like a fraud.
It all leads to that moment later that night when he whispers his confession in the moonlight. I watched Hassan get raped. And the silence after is chilling. No one wakes up. He realizes he's going to get away with it, and that realization becomes his new curse.
That silence, it's not just the lack of sound, it's the lack of accountability. It's the start of his lifelong struggle with guilt. And the way he interprets Hassan's dream about the lake and the monster, it's heartbreaking. He realizes he is the monster, and that's what starts the insomnia, the sleepless nights, haunted by what he's done.
And his relationship with Hassan just crumbles after that. He avoids him, can't even look at him. Every interaction is painful.
The guilt is eating him alive. Every time he sees Hassan, it's a reminder of his betrayal. Even their usual walk up the hill to the pomegranate tree where they carved Amir and Hassan, the sultans of Kabul, it's full of regret now.
And then Hassan, with his unwavering loyalty, asks Amir to read to him from the Shahnameh, and Amir refuses. It's like he's rejecting their whole past, pushing Hassan further away.
It's another way of distancing himself. The Shahnameh, it was this symbol of their connection, and he cuts that tie. It's painful to see how guilt can turn into cruelty.
Which brings us to the pomegranate scene. Hassan, still trying to be a good friend, offers Amir the story he didn't read. And what does Amir do? He snaps. Starts pelting him with pomegranates. It's brutal, almost inexplicable.
But it makes sense when you consider Amir's state of mind. He's so consumed by guilt that he's seeking punishment, some way to release the pressure. He wants Hassan to hit him back, which is so messed up.
And Hassan, bless him, he just takes it. He doesn't fight back. Instead, he picks up a pomegranate and crushes it against his own forehead, asking, "Are you satisfied? Do you feel better?" And then he walks away. It's like he's absorbing Amir's pain, offering himself as the sacrifice.
That moment is so powerful. It's an act of pure love and loyalty, but it also reveals a deep understanding of Amir's turmoil. It's a moment that will stay with Amir forever.
And Amir, through his tears, asks himself, "What am I going to do with you, Hassan?" And the answer he comes up with is horrifying. He realizes he needs to get rid of him. It's a turning point where his guilt hardens into something even worse.
He sees Hassan as this living embodiment of his guilt, and in his twisted logic, getting rid of Hassan is the only way to escape the pain.
After that, things with Baba cool down again. That brief connection they had, it vanishes. There's that offhand comment about getting new servants, which, while it might reflect the social hierarchy of the time, also foreshadows what's coming.
It shows Amir's privilege, his lack of awareness about Hassan and Ali's true place in their lives. It highlights the power imbalance and hints at the bigger forces that will lead to their separation. And then everything goes back to the way it was. Strained dinners. Baba in his study.
And Amir retreats back into his writing, hiding his stories under his bed. Any hope he had of truly connecting with Baba seems gone. Then we jump to Amir's 13th birthday party. Baba's whole thing about inviting the whole world tells you a lot about him, right? It's this grand gesture, almost like he needs everyone to see how successful he is.
Totally. Baba loves these big, lavish displays. It's part of his personality, maybe a way to project an image of power and generosity. And Amir knows it's not really about him. the parties for Baba.
And they go all out. We hear about Salahuddin, the butcher, the lights being installed. It's this huge event, but underneath it all, there's this tension, these broken relationships. And it's all happening in Afghanistan's next to last summer of peace and anonymity, which is a chilling reminder of what's coming.
It's like this last gasp of normalcy before everything changes.
Nice.
The party preparations, they stand in stark contrast to Amir's inner turmoil and the huge societal shifts that are about to happen.
So looking back at these early chapters, it's amazing how much they set up. You see this whole web of loyalty, betrayal, and secrets all coming together. And Amir's actions, driven by his need for his father's love and his own insecurities, they've already set things in motion that will have huge consequences.
For you listening, think about the themes that start here: guilt, redemption, forgiveness, and the role of Afghan culture, the societal norms and expectations that shape everything. It's a lot to unpack.
It really is. And it makes you think, doesn't it, about how our childhood experiences, especially our relationship with our parents, can shape us for years to come, and how we carry those burdens, the things we did or didn't do. Looking back at these excerpts, what moments do you think will have the biggest impact on Amir as the story goes on? Because we're really just at the beginning of this incredibly powerful journey. Thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive.